out tonight. We really appreciate your presence and your participation and for all the work that you do for our community. It's good to get the leaders together every once in a while to kind of ask questions. And there's a lot of things going on. We really appreciate our elected officials in this community at all levels, and our county commissioners have been great, done a great job. We're moving forward, I think there's some positive things to talk about tonight. Real quick, we just want to introduce Doc Whitling, Commissioner, Laura Scheinfeld, Roy Lloyd, and Mary Tolman. Jeff Smith was planning on being here, but some things came up and he was unable to make it after all, so we are missing him, but he does send his regards. We're looking forward to tonight. What the plan is to just have the commissioners each introduce themselves and kind of talk about some of the things that they're working on, some of their plans for the future, and the direction that they individually see the county moving in. We'll just kind of go down the line and have them each give you a couple minutes. Afterwards, it's open for question, and any question can be asked except for water, fire, and chickens. So, other than that, okay, I guess any questions open. So it's up to you. Afterwards, we invite you to enjoy a cocktail and maybe bend their ear a little bit more on a private basis, get them off with some private conversation, and maybe get some information that you didn't know before. So they all agreed to be and are willing to do that. So we're gonna give them the opportunity to visit with you one-on-one as well. And then we encourage everybody to have a drink, and if you're hungry, stop at Santa Fe. We really appreciate it. We give Santa Fe a round of applause for it. They're awesome. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and turn the mic over to them. When we do open it up for questions, I'll run the mic over to you because we are trying to record this, and so we want to make sure the questions are heard nice and loud. So if you don't mind doing that, so enjoy the evening. This is your night, so thank you for coming again. Mary.
Well, I asked for cocktails first, but you didn't do it, so. Mary Tolman, I'm the newest commissioner. I've been on the job a year and 3 months, almost 3 months. And it has been an exciting adventure. I must say that. My expertise was in the area of the federal lands, and probably that's been one of my most exciting assignments. I see Mark Lane over there. P&Z, they volunteered to help us develop a federal natural resource plan and policy that will help us be able to defend and protect what's happening on the federal lands and giving us that voice as cooperators. So the last 20 years, I've been in thousands of hours of meetings defending what happens on the federal lands in Sweetwater County. So that's my greatest area of expertise, and we can talk about some of the other things. My biggest concern is to try to achieve a balanced budget, and I will pass it on and come back to some other things a little bit here.
Good evening. My name is Roy Lloyd. I've been a commissioner now for a little over 3 years, and I've come to realize something in the last 3 years, that I think I was a really young, naive, goal-oriented person that thought I could change the world when I became the commissioner. And one of the things I think I found is I think I was wrong more than I thought I knew ahead of time. But I can also tell you it's probably the toughest job I've ever had in my life, but the most satisfying job I've ever had to serve. And I think a couple of the things I think that stick out to me over the last 3.5 years is something a couple of my fellow commissioners, Wally Johnson and Doc Whitling, have said is, I think the power of the commission is there's 5. There's always 5 votes. And you know what? I've been the no vote on multiple times where it was 4-1 or 3-2, but I've been on the other side. And I think what I enjoy most about it is you get 5 people together and it lets you have a fair view of different things, no matter if you agree or disagree. I think some of the big things for me, I think over the last few years and current projects have been, number one, changing up how we did the budget. When I first started as a commissioner, we tried to solve a $47 million budget in about 2 meetings. And actually, it wasn't really 2 meetings. It was after we met a whole day We would do workshops, and really, that's not efficient. So through some of our changes, we've actually already met with our elected officials, our department directors, and some of our outside entities and component units before we'd even typically start our budget process. We've also changed our process in how we get outside entities money and discern information from the outside entities to decide how we're going to spend that money and get better information. And that has been a great process. We've also found that there used to be one commissioner that always asked for strategic planning, but there wasn't really a lot of it. But we've been able to move forward with some strategic planning over the last 4 years. And even though we've stalled a little bit as we've kind of evolved the financial system, we still have seen some of the impacts. And one of the examples is we've developed our first capital committee that meets together a couple times a year and takes a look at all the capital projects. And we actually rank those projects based on need, so we can help make the determinations of what we should be doing financially with the capital project. To me, those are two huge strides in the concept of strategic planning, but also in financial management that have been positive changes. And you know, there's always hot button topics. I'm sure we're going to hit the last, but I think the last one I'll hit, and I'll pass the microphone because I have a tendency to talk a lot. Ask my wife, is I do think one of our big goals is I'd like to solve ambulance. I don't know what the solve is. It's been an issue in this community for over 30 years, and I'd like to continue to work forward. And I think I can speak for all 5 of us, even though one is missing, and say that even though I think we made a pretty tough decision and maybe wasn't always the wisest looking back at it on ambulance a year and a half ago, we don't not support ambulance as a commission. I think I can fairly say that amongst all of us. And in fact, I think the proof's in the pudding that we continue to fund it and look for solutions. And I can tell you, as an individual commissioner, I've had conversations with multiple entities and continue to work hard on trying to find the right answers. So I'm sure we'll hit some other topics a little bit, but those are a couple of the big things I wanted to cover at first. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren.
Thank you. Lauren Shainfeld. I appreciate everybody for coming out tonight. This is an awesome opportunity. So when I ran the last election cycle, I ran on 3 things. One of them was conservative budgeting, one of them was strategic planning, and the other one was economic development. And I feel like we've made great strides in all 3 of those areas, working together as a commission. Commissioner Lloyd just spoke pretty in depth about the budgeting process and the strategic planning process, and really looking at what we can do to not have just a 1-year cycle. We want to look towards the future, and we also need to do that in partnership with our department heads, our other electeds, and that goes for the cities and the rest of our community as well. And that's one big thing that I think is really important for us all moving forward, and I think we've done a great job with it in the past as well, is just really working together, partnering, and understanding what the needs are throughout all of the county, not just one location, not just one area, and figuring out how we can make that work. We're not gonna always make everybody happy. In fact, most of the time we make half happy and half not, and that's okay. But we're moving in the right direction, I feel. I think that I really was focused on looking at where there were duplicated services, and things like that in our budget process, and I think we've narrowed that down, especially with the application process changing, and really looking at where we potentially could cut any additional dollars, especially with the economy, how it is these days. Ambulance is a hot topic. It's something that we continue to work towards consistently, and we will continue to work hard on this subject to get a solution. Like Commissioner Lloyd said, it's been an issue for over 30 years in this community, and it's an issue across all of Wyoming and across all of rural America. And we do need to work for the best solution for Sweetwater County, and we have the right people having the right conversations now, and that's better than it was a few years ago, so that's really important. One of the other things that I think is awesome to look back at is just where we were at, and just these little strides. It takes a lot of work together in partnership, and I think that we will continue to move forward. We will continue to work together. We don't always agree. Commissioner Lloyd hit the nail on the head. There's 5 of us for a reason, and we can have these great conversations and gain that public input and move forward in the right direction. So I will turn it over to Doc.
Good evening. Randall Doc Wendling, and I'd like to thank everybody for being here this evening, taking time to leave your families, and as well as go hungry a little bit so you can listen to us BS. I am in my fourth year of my second term, and it's been a great ride, and been exciting, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, anything that has occurred. I was going to start out and say I've got some land in Alaska for sale and close it out like that. But, you know, as a commissioner, I don't think we can sell land in Alaska from our benches, so I'll try and be a little more serious, yes. Primarily, you know, 7.5 years ago when I ran primarily on economic development. I ran on the idea of working with the small communities, working with the cities to try and build relationships and building bridges and that type of thing, as well as just nurturing and supporting Sweetwater County's most important resource, and that was its employees, and making sure that they were being taken care of and that they had what they needed throughout the times as they move forward. I'm very proud to say that I think we as a commission have done a good job for our employees. I think we do a little bit better because we're a little behind the times, but I'm very glad we're able to do what we can, but it'll be my drive to do it even better. With regard to relationships and that type of thing for the small towns, small communities, I still have the connections, I still get the calls, and I still appreciate the fact that I can go into any one of those small towns and work very closely with all those people. As far as economic development goes, I think we've come a very long ways. We remember the days when there was very little between the two cities and the county, and now we've made some great strides. And it's been slow developing, but that's the way it has to happen. My goal continues to be with economic development is to flatten out the valleys and high rises that we see in our economy that's a result of the extraction business that goes on in our county. The extraction of minerals and that are very important, but we all know that as we've seen this last month and a half, they're very vulnerable, they're very at risk and that type of thing. So we need to flatten out, and that's where economic development comes in to get ourselves in a position to bring in manufacturing and production. Also, the one other thing is to completely to shore up the three most important entities in the county that provide the present economic development in bringing in recreation, bringing in service to our people throughout the county. And that's our airport, our hospital, and our events complex. Very important to this county and to this area for keeping things going. And so with that, I think I'll finish because we completely keep working on that, and I think we'll finally get to a point where things will stay stable over the years and that type of thing. So thank you. Rick?
Thank you, commissioners. So this is a little risky, but we'll open it up to the floor. Are there any questions for the commissioners? No. Okay, well, have a good night.
Thank you, Rick. Well, thank you all for coming. I serve on the Wyoming Community Development Authority, which is the state's housing, basically a low-income housing board. I was appointed a couple years ago by Governor Gordon, and we, as a state, collectively are facing a real housing shortage, and then we have some levers of the authority to encourage developers to develop housing in Hot Springs and Green River and Varsity and so on. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on the acute shortage of affordable housing, and I think this is key to us attracting industry and workers and so on. And you know, I can just see from what's happened during COVID that the prices of homes around here have increased dramatically, which is probably good for the homeowners like myself. But are there any levers we can pull as a county commission to encourage more developers to come in and build affordable housing?
wants to address that.
Thank you for that question. It's a good one. And I think that really this is an issue across the state, and it really has to do, or really comes down to the partnerships that we can have with the Wyoming Business Council, with our cities, with our, those that are representing us at the state level, and those that are representing us at the federal level. There is federal funding, and there's more and more federal funding being put into this. They do require some match dollars, and they do require a plan. And then I also think you have to bring in, and this is all economic development as well, you have to bring in your businesses and find out what they're looking for, find out what their needs are, find out what their plans are for the future, and really start looking and building that into your strategic planning as a community as a whole. So it's not just Rock Springs, it's not just Green River, it's not just Farson, it's all of us working together, identifying where those needs are, working together in partnership, and knowing that it's not just going to come from one source. The feds aren't just going to give us dollars. The state's not going to solve this issue. It's going to take all of us working together after those needs are identified and bringing the right people to the table to solve that. So, thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with Lauren, that that is a good question, Dave. And I think we can take also a bigger picture look at that too, is not only how do we find affordable housing, but how do we make people want to come to Sweetwater County and stay? I think affordable housing is one of the pieces, but how do we find those quality of life aspects that bring people to Sweetwater County? I grew up 100 miles south in Evanston, Wyoming, and when my dad, I shared with Dave Kaplan tonight, my dad worked at FMC. Well, to me it was FMC, even though it's gone through 3 iterations since then, for almost 35 years. And he would always talk about moving from Evanston to Green River, and I was just aghast, especially as a high school kid. In fact, when we moved to Green River, I refused to wear a Green River shirt when my kids played the sports for years. But how do you get people to want to come here? Because on the other hand, now that I've been here for 18 years, I couldn't imagine living anywhere else in my life. So how do we find that way to create economic development within the house market? And I think Lauren hit a lot of that with is partnerships. I think another way is supporting local business and getting local contractors and finding ways to help them create those opportunities to build also our local economy. But then that second piece is, how do we create that quality of life? How do we make sure we have a great hospital? How do we make sure we have entertainment like the events complex and the greenways? Recently, we've had some presentations with us from Green River with John Freeman and the Friends of the Green River and their walkway projects. How do we find ways to encourage people to find the beauty and the love of Sweetwater County that all of us have in this room? So, Mary, anything?
Thank you, Dave. Great question. I think one of the things, because all of the above, exclamation mark behind each one of them. But one of the things that's so unique to Wyoming is the land, and we don't have much of it. And then we're talking about whether it's regular housing, low-income housing. We've got to locate those spots and find that property that's attractive enough to put that low-income housing on. And sometimes that's more difficult to find than anything else, only because the real estate is so valuable and goes up every day, every year, and not just a little, considerably. So I think, yes, it's all of the above. I believe that's all part of it, Dave. But you know as well as I do, when you look at the Green River area, they're landlocked. They have some opportunities for growth, but not as much as could be. Where are there some good spots for low income? I'm sure there's some good ideas, but I don't think there's water and sewer there yet, or at least sewer. We've got to do some infrastructure here in Rock Springs. I think some great spots for low income housing. But when I go and look at that property and price it and it's owned, you can't afford to put in low-income housing because once it's built, it's not low-income housing just because of the price of the land. So, like I said, it's going to take a lot to bring people to the table. It's going to take probably state, federal, local dollars to drive down or to compensate that landowner so that we can do those types of things. It's not that, it can be done, but it's going to take people coming together to want to meet one goal rather than come to the table and be greedy. And that's what it amounts to. So often we come to the table and someone in there is looking for an opportunity to be greedy and rather than contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks for the question, Dave. That was really good. Any other questions? This could be a short thing. Doc, I was gonna ask you, some time ago, way before my time, Dave Hanks started the Committees Protecting the Green. A committee that was put together, and some kid might have been involved with that. But it was a committee put together to make sure that the water rights were protected in Sweetwater County. And not just the state of Wyoming, in Sweetwater County. That committee's continued on, and we still meet together now often, and Doc sits on that committee. Right now, there's a lot of water concerns, from the top to the bottom, even outside of our county. What can we do in our county? What can the county commissioners do to protect our water rights? To protect, and that's a loaded question, and I understand that. But I just wonder if there's any comment, or if there's anything that we can do locally to make sure that those rights are protected, and that we continue to have water in the gorge from the top down.
Doc, you got that one.
I'm sure Commissioner Tolman will want to add to it. So, a little history first of all. Community Protecting the Greens was established well before I came to Rock Springs, and well before I served on the commission. And it was a committee of 5, had representation from the city of Rock Springs, city of Green River, and the county. And the unfortunate about it, whoever was a representative from the county chaired the committee. And unfortunately, I'm on the committee, so I am the chair. And I'm sad or whatever it is, it's stuck. Anyhow, at that time, when it was put together and the previous bylaws were established, there was a charge for that group to keep an eye on the Upper Colorado River Basin, which is basically, for the most part, from the Utah line up to into Sublet. And we were charged with the task of, if we anticipated that somebody was going to take water and divert it out of our basin and out of state, or sometimes in another basin within Wyoming, that had to be discussed. We were given the charge and had access to us $75,000 from each of the entities. So we had at hand nearly $150,000, $200,000 to immediately, as a group of individuals, to hire an attorney and work towards preserving that water and make sure that it wasn't diverted, and make sure it was our 13% for the state, as well as what little we used in this basin is protected. So anyhow, as we worked forward with that and the membership roll aboard, we started looking at that. We started saying, well, what can we do for Sweetwater County to put us in a position of having water? One of the things we looked at is well, we know there's an excess of water in Fontenelle that's above the dead pool. And we thought, well, okay, let's look into that. Maybe we can buy it and have it available. So many thousand, or 100 acre feet, or 1,000, didn't matter. We were looking at it. Anyhow, as we worked into that, the board at that time, it's changed over a little bit since then. We had Richard Matthey and we had Brian Seppi. We had some pretty bright people sitting on that board that also were part of the Colorado River Users Association throughout the Colorado River Basin. And then, of course, we had Pat Terrell, who was with the engineers department, state engineers, water engineers department at that time, and started working with him. And as we worked through things, we found out that was not feasible. The cost to buy water and then pay to rent it for one-time use every year was astronomical. And we have some industry owners that do that to preserve water so that they can have industry. So it works for them, but it would not work for the county. And as we kept working, then we started looking at our mission of being individuals that would be able to sit there and hire attorneys and get injunctions. And as we started researching everything and started really trying to get better at understanding the compact of Water Compact of 20 and the signing of the compact in 27 and then everything that followed later, the guidelines and everything, what we found out, more so than anything, is that the key to protecting water rights for Sweetwater County is to buy senior water rights, which are pre-22s. If there's a call on the river, the call will happen on all the junior water rights. You need to know junior water rights right now are industry mainly, besides towns and cities, and that type of thing, because they're post-28, post-28, 22. So it would have a high impact. The other thing we found out, and this is quite compelling, is, and this is even working with the attorney with that worked for the state water over there, Chris, can't think of his name. Anyhow, doesn't matter, names don't matter, but we can get them later. Anyhow, through his look at everything, what we found out was that no matter what, an injunction against a diversion wasn't going to do anything but cost US taxpayers a lot of money. Just an incredible amount. It's a waste of money. We found that out. What we found out that we needed to do, more than anything, is work with our state and make sure we had permitting things in place. I'm going to throw a name out at you. How many of you know the million that came in here? Yeah, look at this. Well, he's still out there. He's still squandering. He's still trying to do things. But the thing that's stopping him from progressing is the fact of permitting. If you permit out of Flaming Gorge, not only do you have to permit the state of Wyoming, you got to permit through, you got to permit through BOR, there's several permits. So that's why you'll always see him looking for that one little piece of state land in some state where he can put his diversion, because then he only has to deal with that state for permitting. All right, that's enough of that story. So where did we go? We decided, as we worked forward with the Community Protecting the Green, that we needed to change our mission to more of an educational group, to be there to prepare when people are ready to be educated regarding water and water rights, and especially the Fontenelle. Now what I'm going to tell you is what you do not want to hear. Flaming Gorge. Leave Fontenelle alone. Flaming Gorge, you don't want to hear this. Flaming Gorge record of decision that is on the registry is for two purposes. One, it's a scientific body of water that is primary use for that is to provide flow, increased flow at 2 or 3 times a year to provide the opportunities for these little extinct fishes down below the dam so they can breed and hatch and continue to thrive. So that's one record. The other one is Flaming Gorge is a body of water in reserve that when the BOR deems it necessary, they can put a call on it and they can take water out of it at any point in time, move it down into Powell, and then Powell moves their water into Lake Mead. If it's necessary, the BOR on a call can take that down to its original trickle. We have no control over it, the state or any of us. That's the truth of it. So that's where Communities Protecting the Green has evolved into Sweetwater County Collaborative Users Association with a new mission and new objectives primarily for education and to help people to understand Flaming Gorge, Fontanelle, especially the Upper Basin, Colorado flow. You did not want to ask that question. Commissioners, what do you want to add? I'm sorry I took so much time.
Good evening, Mr. Cole. Senator Cole. Good evening.
Well,
Good evening,
it's a whole course on the Colorado River, and I guess Doc kind of ended it. The greatest thing we can do is to become informed and pay attention to what is happening with the river. The governor's task force on the Colorado River, they had all their meeting in Farson in October, they had another meeting in Cheyenne a couple of weeks ago. And the main focus is like Doc says, we can't really stop them from trying to take our water except for what we beneficially use and keep in the land. So that's our greatest hold on the water is those senior water rights for actually using the water. But the focus of the meetings was on figuring out ways to measure that beneficial use, because Wyoming, we feel that we have a better system of accurately measuring it, and they actually have some test sites in Suffolk County where they're trying to measure the beneficial use of the water. So they're trying to get the other upper basin states to also use that same method of measuring the beneficial use of the water. So they're focusing on that and trying to just keep us educated is probably the best thing we can do and fight to defend and protect the water rights that we do have and use them. Because if you don't use them, you lose them. It's what you actually use that is considered your beneficial use. So if we de-water all of our farms and ranches, it will become a complete desert wasteland. And so Wyoming has always been strong in protecting those water rights and keeping them attached to the land and not selling them to someone else and de-watering our state. So the greatest thing we can do is to stay educated, stay on top of it, and I think the governor is trying with the state engineer's office to try to stay ahead of it so that they can defend what we do have in Wyoming from the Colorado River.
Thank you, both of you. That was great. Any questions at all, or any comments? We got elections coming up.
I'd just like to follow up a little bit on what he's already talking about there. Being a farmer from Farson, water's our lifeblood. You don't grow anything if you don't have water. And I just wonder if you guys realize the impact it's going to have on the Colorado River Pact. That expires in 2025, I believe. I don't know if you guys realize that, but that is going to be huge. And it's going to affect everybody in this room, whether they want it to or not, because that is, in my eyes anyway, is going to turn the legal community loose, and all the lower basin states are going to come after the water that we have and do so many things, because it's going to open up a can of worms like we've never seen. And I think you guys and everybody in this room needs to be right on top of it, because that's not very far down the road. And I know from stuff that you've probably read, and I have too, where these hedge fund companies, they've already had meetings in California right now. They want to federalize all the water. The way the Colorado River is right now, all the lower basin states are already federally controlled. The upper 7 basin states, which is us, is controlled by the states, and that's where the Colorado River Pact comes in, telling us how much water we get to control as Wyoming. And they want to take that away. They want to turn all the water into a water bank. The Flaming Gorge Reservoir is going to be a water bank, and they see the money and the value in water. They want to turn that into a place where these hedge fund companies or anybody with a lot of money can go buy a chunk of that reservoir down there, and they can sell it to me as an ag guy or industry, whoever, basically going to turn it into a money deal for them. So there's a lot of potential there for problems, and I'm sure when that expires and Las Vegas has come down upon us and everything, because they really need the water. They're way over what they should be now. They're just running on our letting go water that we don't use up here. But we need to really pay attention, because this drought is bringing out all the bad that could could ever come out, but I appreciate all the comments on that. Thank you.
Rick?
Rick.
And what Mr. Brown has indicated is very accurate if the compact is not extended. And I think the states know that what Mr. Brown's talking about could happen. Our whole desire is that the compact comes together and they work things out and things continue. If those waters are federalized, all I gotta tell you is Wyoming has 3 representatives and California has how many? On top of that, right now, the way we are, when you take a look at, on water, California's entitled to 4 million cubic feet before anybody else is, so that has to get there even before anybody else get water. So, yeah, there's some real challenges ahead. We're going to meet with our group. We haven't been able to go in person. It's had to be Zoom, so we don't have a meeting place yet where we can meet, but we are going to wait for the Colorado River Board to meet here in May, and then the Sweetwater County User Association will get together and get an update on where that's at. So, and also keep an eye on, if you want to know what a call on the river looks like, they just had one today, northern Wyoming, Tongue River, and the call on the river is to fill the reservoir in Montana. It happened today. So if you think they aren't real, they are. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Commissioners, thank you for your time. Totally support what Dave said and understand the need for low-income housing and also Commissioner Lloyd to make sure that we have things for families to do that keeps them here and not in outside states and so forth. But that said, we've hired over 100 people so far this year, and I've probably got another 70 to go. And these are pretty high income homes. And so we need that end of the spectrum as well. I'm fortunate enough to live in a rural estates neighborhood, and quite frankly, they're trying to take that away from me. I really hope that you also think about that side. Susie and I were looking at property this weekend in the Utah area in the mountains, and quite frankly, there's people with money that we can't even imagine looking for property in places like here. Rick, you've told me you're getting pretty good calls. And we don't forget about that side of the economy either, because what we think is expensive, a lot of people think is very affordable, and they want to get out of those cities left and right. I've got a very wonderful HR team. They all came from Washington. They don't want to live there anymore. They're tired of crime. They're tired of tent cities. They want to be out here by these beautiful open areas. We have a wonderful hospital. We have a wonderful education system. We just need to build on it. And I'd encourage us not to forget about that side, because other parts of the country are capitalizing.
Excellent, thanks, Rick. Any comments on that?
Thank you for that comment, Fred. I think that this drives home the whole basis of economic development and looking at all of the underlying infrastructure, the hospital, the partnerships that we have to make this happen, whether that's with our local officials, whether that's with our business owners, whether that's with our large business owners that are bringing in these folks, and really working together to build from the ground up in all directions. There's so many, I think Commissioner Lloyd and I had the conversation, he said, economic development is an elephant. It's so much. There's so much that can be done, and it's hard to put money into economic development when you're worried about fixing water lines, or you're worried about keeping afloat because of the economy. And so that's something that we have to educate everybody in the community that it is important to look at economic development, and that may be the driving force that gets us through a downturn or changes that downturn around. And we've really put some instrumental things in place over the last few years with economic development. And SCDC came over, we've had great partnerships, we continue to have great meetings. We just got our 501c3 approved, and so we are working in the right direction in building those basic things for economic development, and we have a long ways to go, but really looking at how we can increase that budget, how we can look at expanding bigger and better things. Cheyenne has done a great job in Wyoming of doing that, Cheyenne Leads, and we're actually working in partnership with them right now too, to get some of their ideas and change them around a little bit to make that work for Sweetwater County. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we do have to focus on it, and a little bit of additional money, even though it's tough because we see other things, goes a long way in that arena right now. So.
Well, I believe in economic development, but I also believe in Wyoming's natural resources. And Sweetwater County is, 70% federal lands, and so my focus has been on the nation needs our energy, the nation needs our natural resources, and it disturbs me to talk about green energy when we see our landfills filling with plates, and they don't consider the lithium is going to take for the batteries. So I mean, if we're going to analyze and have green energy, then I think it should be treated and analyzed completely. We testified in the Public Service Commission, Rocky Mountain Power. We know that coal-fired power plants, if they go down, it's going to affect our tax base seriously. And we do have other things coming online with petroleum mines, and it seems like there may be opportunities to take those coal-fired power plants to gas-fired, and maybe we'll get a nuclear power plant. But those have been the drivers for Sweetwater County, and we talk about diversifying and switching and changing, but it takes a lot to make up that money that is brought to us by those natural resources. So that's been my focus. Last year we passed a resolution in April opposing Biden's ban on oil and gas leasing, and he still has not released it. BLM cannot release any oil and gas leases because they can't meet the requirements of that study that this administration did, saying they have to talk about the social impacts. How do you analyze social impacts of a gas lease? So everything is stopped as far as oil and gas leasing, and it is not Ukraine's fault that we're going to be paying $10 a gallon for gas. So we have the resources that can drive this country, but if we don't defend them and fight for them, we're going to pay the price. And so that's where I come from. I oppose what Biden is doing on the 30 by 30, trying to take 30% of the land and locking it up. We've already given more than 30 in Wyoming. 30% of our land is already federal. So that's been my main focus, is to keep our natural resource industries and keep them viable. And yes, we do need to diversify and find other industries, but it will take a multiplier, a huge multiplier, to ever make up what one gas well provides to this county. We have $35 billion in assessed value from coal, and that has declined, like it's half of what it was. But if we lose all of that, we are in trouble.
Thank you, Mary.
I have to put my glasses on so I can read all these acronyms together. Thank you, Commissioners. I'd like to know from each one of you where you stand on the motorized community and access for the motorized community to Sweetwater County. There's a couple organizations out there, SWAT out of Evanston, which I know you're familiar with, and then there's the new one here, Sweetwater County Outdoor Recreation Collaborative. Have to read it to get it right. That one, actually, I've been going to those meetings since the beginning, and that one started out as a collaborative for motorized and non-motorized. It's pretty much exclusively evolved into non-motorized, which is, there's no problem with that. But I'd like to know where you all see the motorized community and how it fits in with economic development, because It is a huge amount of money. It's not gonna replace oil and gas, but it is a huge amount of money. So I'd like to know where each one of you stand on the motorized community only. I don't wanna get into wilderness study areas or any of the weeds of that stuff, but just where you stand on that.
Thanks, Ken. Question. Wait, you want to start?
Taylor, that's a great question, a great piece, and it's a great segue from economic development to your question, actually. So, to be honest, the first I've really even heard of this kind of a project was when Mark Cesaro presented from the Uinta County group. And after doing research, there's areas throughout our country that have showed ways to connect vehicle roads from community to community without creating new roads and just using existing paths and roads and two tracks to be able to connect communities that have helped communities thrive within economic development because it connects them together and it brings in a new population. And I really think it's a huge thing that we should actually move forward with. I know as a county, currently we have Gene Legursky, our Public Works Director, working with the Mark Cesaro and the group out of Uinta County to start looking at how we can link into those. And I think that is a huge piece. I think because one of the things when we talk economic development, one of our easiest move into more economic development is exactly what you're talking about, Taylor, is the tourism industry. We have great areas that Flaming Gorge, being a fly fisherman, Seaskadee, the Green, finding ways like the two-track and the motorized vehicle and linking communities only enhances that ability to share that travel and tourism aspect that we have. That can become, and not necessarily always the biggest economic developer, but it can become part of it. And if together with all multiple projects, you can really grow it. So I'm a huge proponent of it, have been since we first saw it. I know Senator Cole can probably talk a little bit about this from the legislative side, because there was a small snag in some of that at the legislative session. But I think moving forward as a county, it's important that we see how we can partner with organizations and find ways and methods to make that happen.
Thank you for that question. I think that it's important to look at organizing it. And I mean, people are out there in our community. That's some of the things that we love to do living here in Sweetwater County. And so if we can organize it, make it educational, work with travel and tourism, hopefully we can keep people on tracks, which will minimize hurting our environment and everything else that we have out there and all of the systems and everything that we have. But I also think that we can do this in partnership. I see the moto coach rallies. They're coming into the events complex. That's one thing that they would love to be able to go out and do while they're here in Sweetwater County. And the events complex has done a great job working with travel and tourism and putting together some stay and play packages. They come early, they stay a little bit longer, spend a little bit more money and time in our community, and this is a great way to do that. It's also a great way to diversify some of the other ideas, bringing other groups in, like Commissioner Lloyd said. There's people that travel around the country and they enjoy these outdoor sports, and I think if we organize it, we advertise it, we really work with travel and tourism and our economic development coalition, there's money out there to help with the signage and to help with making it look nice and be organized, and I think that it's a great direction to go, and yeah, I'm excited to see where it heads.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Again, here's one of those things. I do sit on the steering committee for the South Sweetwater County Outdoor Recreation Collaborative, where we sit as a group and we'll listen to the team meetings go on and take input from them, and then as a steering committee decide what projects would be good moving forward for the county. And this motorized outdoor initiative was one of those that was considered as low-hanging fruit. I mean, pretty easy to make happen. The kicker behind it all is it's on a little old school. Out there on our lands, there's still some private lands, even our county roads that run through this county. We got some beautiful areas and that type of thing. And we want people to come out and we want them to enjoy them. But we want them to enjoy them responsibly. So it's very important that we educate people and we make sure that they understand responsible enjoyment is what we want in Sweetwater County. The one other group that we cannot forget are the landowners. the grazing associations, the ranchers. Many of our county roads and many of those scenic spots are roads that go through their private property, but they're county roads. They're county accessible. It's very important that what I told the steering group as well as the SWAT group out of Evanston, that as much as it'll take a vote of the commission to give that permit, I would be resistant to support it until I knew there were public meetings with our ranchers and our county public people out there so they could have some input, because I think it's very important, you know. We've got some great ranchers, we've got some great landowners out there that want their property protected, and they look to us as a county and look to the sheriff and his force to help support that. I asked the sheriff early in the stages of this of what the traffic was out there in the county, and he says, hey, it's incredible. If you out there, it's a lot of it already going on, that type of thing. And yes, we know that. But you know what? Those are our people. They know how to ride. They're Sweetwater County, they're Wyoming. They do a responsible job. When you talk about travel and tourism, recreation being an economic driver second to mineral extraction, we want that. And we need to accept it and grow it. But we need to do it responsibly. And we need to do it in such a way that the people who are landowners know that we have an expectation. Once we open it up, once it becomes popular, those people from Moab that have been riding in the wintertime are going to come up here in the summertime because they don't want to ride in 112 degree weather. They want to ride in 70 and 80, and there are millions of dollars being spent there. So we will continue to work closely, but I'm telling you that as this moves forward, my request has only been, and of course, when the permit comes up, I hope we've had those meetings. If they not, I'll be one vote to say no, not until the meetings happen. Thank you.
I don't really have a lot to add. I think those are good points, Doc, and I think we do need to respect our private property. I have observed that a lot of those groups, so they are more organized and respectful of the land than a lot of the freewheelers who may come in and out of the county. So I think as having established routes and things might actually help looking for some of that.
Mark, did you still?
You spoke a little bit about budget and about funding, and there's a lot of these things we'd love to see happen here in Sweetwater County. I'd like to know your thoughts on general purpose tax and 650 specific purpose tax, and what you guys think about that.
Thanks for asking that, Mark. I didn't want to lose my friend. Who wants to start it?
No, you can just slide it down.
So we can go down the line.
Thanks, Mark. Great question. And you know, and this conversation is going to go on. Of course, I think when you talk about general purpose tax, you're talking about the tax that's once it's passed, there's two things about it. It can be used for just about anything, for whether it's city or county and that type of thing. It has no specific things. But the unique thing about that, and I have to agree with a few of our local senators when that type of thing is once that's passed, that general purpose tax is passed, then it stays in place until you get a, what do they call that? You get signatures. A lot of signatures on it. Come on, help me out. Petition, thank you, whoever that was. $100 bill for you. Go on. Anyhow, once we get a petition signed by the voters to put it back on the referendum to take it off, then that could occur. But keep in mind, general purpose goes on. Once it goes on and passed, it's there. No, that's not correct.
No, there's some other steps that have to happen in between it, but
But mostly. All right, you clean it up for me. All right, clean it up for me, but for the most part. But anyhow, for the specific purpose, you know, we've already tried the general, and we know we've got some things to clear up there. But on the specific purpose, which is the tax that we're presently talking about to get a 1 penny pass throughout the county and that type of thing to help with specific things as listed in statute. I supported the general purpose. I would support the general purpose tomorrow with a more clear, definite expectation of what it's to be spent on, right to the whatever people want it. Also, I would support it as long as it went back to the voters every so often so they could vote it up or vote it down. I think if when it comes to that point, when it is rolled over, which it does, I believe, am I right? Kind of. But anyhow, I want to make sure we have taxation with representation and not otherwise. Specific purpose tax, make it quick and short, I support it. I've been a firm believer that we are not going to get the things caught up and get them done, whether it's in our cities or small towns, and that unless we do them as a community. Historically, Sweetwater County has always stepped up to the plate and has supported their specific purpose tax to take care of those things that are listed by state statute to make their communities better. We are behind, as you know, with infrastructure and that type of thing. We're behind in roads, all I have to do is drive down them, and we're behind in other areas, and we constantly talk about it. So I support both of them. I'm more than willing to, as a taxpayer, pay my share, and I just think it's the right way to go. I'm tired of waiting for the state, I'm tired of waiting for the federal government. I'm in favor of getting it done, and I'm in favor of doing it out of my pocket. Thank you.
Now clean me up, please.
So I'm not going to talk a huge amount about the general purpose tax, just because we're done with that and how, I mean, we didn't do a good job of rolling that out, and that's why it failed. We weren't organized, as Doc said. We did not move forward in the right direction, and we didn't get input from the community. And so that's what we are working to change with the specific purpose tax potential. So we actually, we've had one stakeholder group meeting. It was great. We have a survey that is open right now. If you haven't taken it, please do. I believe that Rick, is it on your website or, okay, so it's on the chamber website. It's also on the county website, and we actually have a tab on the county website in the top that I think it's on the far right of our website that is specific to this tax. It has a list of potential projects, and we want your input. We want to understand what projects you potentially would support, if any. We want to know across the community where people are thinking, in supporting or in not supporting, so that we get the community input that we need before we even think about putting this on the ballot. The general purpose tax, we rushed it. We did not have those conversations, and I learned a lot from that. And so we're going to move forward with the conversation part of it right now. No decisions have been made. I can say that our communities across the board, especially the small communities, they've been very supportive of this, just because that's what the specific purpose tax was meant to do initially, was to provide some additional funds to those small rural communities that don't have a very solid tax base, so that they can have the infrastructure that they need to survive and to provide a good quality of life to their citizens. And so there are some there's some very basic infrastructure things. There's a project for the hospital that would benefit our community. Their event complex has some items as well that they've put out there that will bring new economic development and diversification into our community and help bring some taxpayer dollar that we're not paying as well. So, I think that it's definitely an open and hot conversation right now. We are going to have a few open forums as well, meetings, just so people can come and have conversations about that. And then in a few months, especially after we get the survey results back, we have those conversations. We're going to have another stakeholder meeting as well. Then we'll have some more serious conversations about, is this the direction our community wants to go? What projects would they support? How do they support us putting this on the ballot? You know, if you're looking at length of time or amount of money, you know, what kind of ideas are we hearing back from our community members, and what do they want us to do moving forward? So that's where we are right now with specific purpose tax. If you guys have questions about that, detailed questions, please check out the website. Please reach out to any of us. There's listed, we have a committee across all of our communities, and there's somebody from each community that's on that committee. And we've been talking about this for a year and a half. And so there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, trying to work through some of the details just to even get to where we are today, and all be on the same page. So, thank you.
I'll just touch quickly on the specific purpose tax and say that sometimes you learn the most in life by some of your biggest mistakes. And I'll be honest, when we looked at the specific purpose tax, I actually spoke against it and voted for it, which was kind of an odd thing because I wanted to put the vote to people's hands. And I'll be honest, if I could go back, that's one vote I would change. And it's because I don't think we should have put the specific purpose tax out. Sorry, the general purpose tax, let me back up, in a non-election year because it cost the taxpayers in the county a lot of money, and I think it could have held. I also think we should have stayed at 0.5 instead of going to 1. But with that, I think you learn, and in talking to constituents and citizens during that process, there was a feeling that we didn't listen as groups, as municipalities. There was some lack of partnership across the board, not on all parts, not blaming one municipality or the county over anyone, and we just didn't get the job done in communicating well. And as far as the general purpose tax, I talked earlier, one of the beauties about the commission is 5 voices, and I think I have a different voice on this than most of my other counterparts. And I'm going to be honest, I think there's some definite projects in every community that needs to be done at this point. And the 6 penny or the general purpose tax, the specific purpose tax is how it can be done. But I believe at this point, if we don't change that project list significantly and lower the dollar value and have the projects be based upon specific tangible infrastructure projects needed for the communities, it's not going to pass. So whether I agree with every project or not, I think unless we change that list specifically in talking to constituents, I do believe it's going to fail. And I believe if it fails for a second time, it will be hard to get back. So I think as community leaders, we really need to rally around that list and make sure it's a list that the voters will support. Because if we're providing things that I think are tangible and innate needs and are truly wants rather than truly dire needs rather than wants, I don't think it's going to pass in the community. And that's what I've heard from talking to constituents and visiting with constituents. And I think that's what I heard in the general purpose tax. And sorry, I keep getting it back. I really do backwards. I do understand the difference. But I stand that we do need some of those projects, but I also believe if we go through without significant changes and making them tangible projects that the community will benefit, because there is a little lack of trust in it. No, sorry, there's a lot of lack of trust in the process at this point. And I think you have to start small to build that trust. And I would rather see a much smaller amount of tangible projects to go through that are needed, because I think if we don't, people are just going to go down a menu list and check no out of spite. And that's just my opinion. So I'll turn it over to Mary Tillman.
Well, I'm the newest commissioner. I don't have to know anything, right? I learned the hard way, though. So it was a hard lesson last year. And we're in tough times. People are paying, gas prices are out of sight. Grocery prices are out of sight. There's no doubt that we need these projects. The infrastructure needs are there. But I just hope as a commission that we can listen to what the survey results show and what the stakeholder meetings are telling us. If there's a strong support to go forward, then I would be willing to support them. But if there's an overwhelming issues coming back from our constituents and we hired a consulting group, I don't think they were, well, maybe the impression is that they were hired to convince people to vote for the tax, but I think we have to, as commissioners, listen to what we're really hearing from our constituents. Is this the time or not? We are in hard times right now, and I know 1 penny doesn't seem like a lot, but to some people it is a lot. So I'm trying to be unbiased and listen to all the facts and try to gather the information and to help us as a commission decide what way we really need to go, but we really need to hear from our constituents. We need to get more people to respond to the surveys and let us know what they are thinking.
Thank you, Commissioners. Like Lauren said, we do have that survey up on our website, so please go to it and fill it out. I think it's a good survey, and it can provide a lot of information for us. That was probably a good question to end up on, but I do want to open it up to any comments or questions. There are a few, so Irene will. Hey Lauren, how late is that survey open?
Let me look really quick. I don't.
Let me look it over.
So I just want to thank the commissioners for doing this and having, the opportunity to speak with you guys. And you guys are doing an excellent job. I want to just talk about the 6 penny or the specific purpose tax and just say that we have been the fortunate recipients of that 2 times, back in 2005 and in 2012. And I think it's important to just get the word out there that this is not a permanent tax. This goes off after the money is collected, and it's been very beneficial. We've been able to do several things with the hospital, and we're very grateful for that. So whatever we can do to help the commission with that, we'd be happy to do that, because I think there is a difference. I think it's important to get that information out to everybody when the tax does go off after it's collected. So thank you guys for what you're doing. We appreciate it, and let us know how we can help.
Senator?
Good evening, Board of County Commissioners, mostly who's here. I had a general question, or probably more specific, about the Baxter Road project on water development. Now, I guess I've got some unique perspective as being senator, and I just want to share that with everybody in this room. There are millions of dollars out there with the state of Wyoming money for water development, and we do not take advantage of those dollars. Mostly because in the past we've had a lot of money, and I understand it because I was a commissioner for a while. But in this day and age, it would be something we can take advantage of. There's millions of dollars. We have to complete the right level water study. I think it's a level 1 study to get money from the state of Wyoming to help with that project. I sit there and I have the opportunity, literally, to get millions of dollars from this county, literally. But I don't have a project. I don't have a project that I can present to my other senators to try to get something for us here. So I just wanted to share that. I need your help. I need you to help me and everyone else that's in the House and Senate on trying to get monies to help with these projects. Because we talk about it, about economic development, but really where we're at, what do we actually accomplish? Well, I think there's a real opportunity here for us to work together and to get a project going after we complete the right steps in the state of Wyoming. We're just really lousy beggars, we never had it. And I hate to put it like that, but we got to play the game. And I feel bad. I feel very bad when I don't have a project that I can try to move money towards for Sweetwater County after all the money we paid the state of Wyoming in taxes throughout the years, and we don't get much because we don't ask much. So I guess I'd like to hear your position on the Baxter Road Water Project for economic development, and here you're willing to work with myself and other people in the Senate and House to come to a successful project and get some monies for us. Thank you for your time.
Well, first off, Senator, and I appreciate the work that all of our representatives have done, but there's $50 million available for the entire state. So divide that up, that's not a lot of money. And then on top of that, with the federal government and even with the state, as hard as our representation works, it seems like we're always in a battle with the northeastern part of the state. Maybe we should raise more cows or cattle down here. I don't know, but it's a battle. And now with redistricting, they want to damage us even more. On the Middle Baxter project, we have submitted the level 2 study. That was another requirement. We were well into that project. I serve on SCDC's board, Lauren, Doc, and a great group doing a lot of good things. So we are trying to bring a project, and I don't know if that got to you yet, but we did submit. So we are in the mix, but $50 million is where that ended up. 99 communities in Wyoming. So divide that up, and you know how expensive the water projects are. It's tough to get. There's a lot of competition for that. But we are in there. We're trying to provide the information and a project to go along with the good work that our representation has done at the state. But that is an important project for us, Middle Baxter. We've been working on it for years. It makes good sense. We have airport, we have rail, we have highway, we have land, we have water. It also satisfies several needs of dropping a drop off to Arrowhead Springs, which they don't have water, they can't grow, and improving the ability for Simplot to eventually expand. So there's a lot of missing links to go along with that, including providing airport. I've said this numerous times. Well, since 2003, well over 20 years, our airport does not have water. We haul water to our airport. Get that? It's ridiculous. We need to change that. So, that being said, we're trying to bring a good project, and that is the project. And, by the way, that was actually the only project they would accept. We looked at several opportunities. Makes good sense to us, and we're going to go forward with that. So hopefully we can bring you a project, Senator. The other thing is, I just wanted to touch base on the specific purpose tax while we had that discussion going. I think this is very important, and I think it's our responsibility as elected officials to bring the community what we feel based on staff, department heads, and our expertise of what's needed in our community. Critical projects. You don't see a lot of fluff in there. You just don't. Ours is basically water, sewer, streets, same thing. But what will kill this, and I think Commissioner Lloyd mentioned this, is that number that just is getting out of bounds. I can tell you our groups, I don't want to list the adjective of sketchy, but we're going to sketch it. We're going to look at that stuff and scrutinize it, but we know that we could easily submit $250 million worth of project, easily. But then common sense is going to tell you there's no possible way, including the small communities, you're going to be able to construct those kind of projects in the time frame that you have. So we set a limit. We figured that, in discussion with the county commissioners, we thought $80–90 million with about a 5 to 6 year duration. And then give the taxpayers a chance to see that fell off. And we completed some great projects, which we've done in the past. It's proven to be a great deal. I can tell you, just first look at our budget this year, we are starting off with $10 million in the hole. That's not good for us. We just cut $7 million, $4 million, and now starting off trying to catch back up. There's no realistic way that we can keep up with infrastructure costs with general funds. There's no way. So you have to ask yourself as a voter, do I want to go out and vote to improve my community, to improve the quality of life, which we expect? I can tell you when people who come to our community, I don't run out there and pull a manhole cover and show them the great sewer line we put in the street 2 years ago. I take them to our parks. I take them to our golf course. I take them to our hospital. We go to the airport. We go to the rec centers. Because those people are going to move into this community, maybe bring their business in here, and it's not going to be maybe the guy or the lady who's running the business. It's going to be the family. They're going to show up here and see this dirtbag community that doesn't even have sewer. It's pitiful and we don't have pride in it, and they're not going to stay. I think Fred had the same question one day in a meeting trying to hire employees. People don't want to come into our community if they can't see that we're taking care of it. So infrastructure is key with us, but involved with that is quality of life. Quality of life is important to us. We have great fishing, great recreation opportunities, but we need to build on that. So you gotta ask yourself, do I want to support that, or do I just want to see the community fail? So I would suggest supporting the specific purpose tax proposition. Get behind it, but it also has to be common sense where each one of these communities, take a look at that list that's getting very large, and it needs to come down to common sense. When you have very small communities requesting funding larger than the largest community in Sweetwater County, we have a problem, and it's not going to go very far. And the reason why it's not going to go any far on our page is because I believe our group is not going to support it, and I'm fearful of that. And that takes away a lot of good work that the committee has done. Warren and Mr. Shanefield, great work in trying to just bring projects to this community. We can't do it with general funds. We're operating right now with $7 to $8 million less than we did just 5 years ago with the same needs. So we can't keep going that direction. We need some help. We need to get the community behind it, but there's got to be some trust with our elected officials, and we got to build that. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Senator. Is there anything else from the audience before we wrap it up? And Commissioners, did you want to say anything else? I really should let these tables closer.
Get your steps in.
I would just like to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Rick, TJ, and the staff for putting this together. I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners for being here and thank them for the work they've done. And as I look out across who's here, I see some of the people that we see quite often down in the legislature every year, fighting and scrapping with the legislature to get what they can, whether it's for their individual organization or whether it's for the city, for the town, for the county. And it's a scrap fight. And some of those key things become very important to us, and that type of thing. Our sheriff knows how important that is, and the work that we've done and the work that was supported for a couple of issues through the sheriff's department and that type of thing. For the counties, the cities and towns, we did end up with maintaining our direct distribution at a time at which we thought it was going to be reduced, or a time at which we thought it was going to be taken away from us. And I would like to, at this time, thank Senator Cole for his support of that and making sure that our towns, cities, and county kept that distribution, plus supporting the additional $15 million that through a new formula will support the counties in the state that are more at risk, that don't get the money, as well as the small towns that need the money in order to survive and just get through. So anyway, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and thank you for listening to us, and what a great audience, and thank you for the questions, and if there's anything we can do for you, please don't hesitate. Our meetings, first and third Tuesday, starting at 8:30. We have public comment on the agenda, and sometimes we have crazy comments. So, thank you.
Thank you. I also just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I appreciate the questions. They were across the board, and that's awesome. I appreciate having the opportunity, thank you to the Chamber, to get out and have these conversations. It's really important that we have your input, that we know what's important to you, and that we get feedback when we do things good and when we do things wrong. And so I appreciate this, and I look forward to having more conversations and getting input from all of you. And like I said, if you haven't gone out and taken that survey, or you have input for us, please let somebody know. And I look forward to working with everybody. Thanks.
Before I give the thank yous and everyone else's, I want to answer Senator John Coates' question. Yeah, I'm more than willing to work with you on getting that water project, and I do agree.
It's already been turned in.
Oh, it's already been turned in, so we're going to go. But hey, whatever we need to do to help and support, I think we need to move forward with that. And I think, but it also goes down to, throughout the evening, one word that we haven't said is, we can't be a successful commission, and the cities can't be a successful city, and The legislators can't necessarily be successful, and our business partners can't be successful unless we have partnerships. And I think the key to solving all the problems out there is some way finding ways to tap into each other's resources and work together. And I know it sounds like a real kumbaya concept, but there's a lot of truth to that validity, I think, when we start working together. When we start looking at economic development, working with our SCDC committee, but also working with business owners and business leaders to help get that vision put together. When we're talking about, how do we diversify the economy? We're bringing our industry guys like Fred. Fred and I have had multiple conversations when I first started as a commissioner about, different ways to diversify our economy, focusing on Trona, because that's one of our biggest drivers. But I think it comes together to listen and talk and share each other's ideas. And I think as a commissioner, one thing that I've always driven is we're going to work hard to figure out what we can do to work forward together, put in the homework, but I'm available. So if you have questions, please reach out to us. Public comment, emails. I don't answer anything that's put on Rants and Raves or on Sweetwater Now, so you're going to have to call me or give me an email for me to give you an answer because I don't read it. So that's kind of where we are, but I want to thank all of you for being here. Rick, as always, thank you for putting this together, JT and the entire chamber staff. But thank you to you guys, because that's what makes this community great, is the people in our community. Here you go, Mary.
Thank you. The Middle Baxter project, yes, the water line to the airport, into Arrowhead Springs is very important. But we have 10 to 15 vacant commercial buildings in the city that I would like to see built. So, Lord, development committee, I think that would be a great place to start before we try to develop that Middle Baxter area as a commercial area, unless we have an entity that wants that kind of property, then that's a different thing. But you do need to have the water and the infrastructure. I can understand that. It's great being here tonight. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. I just want you to know that as a new commissioner, that I am so proud to be able to work for this county. We have the greatest facilities, we have the greatest staff, we have very hardworking people in that courthouse. And as commissioners, I think it behooves us to engage them more and to treat this as a business and be able to study the issues, make decisions, and move forward. I know we're a governmental entity, but that's been my biggest frustration, is feeling like we get bogged down. We get bogged down and we don't move off of things. And I think the fire study that we did was engaging our staff, digging out the facts for the whole county to provide something that's going to be better. And so I've been proud to be a part of that and part of the budget process. And I thank all of you very much for taking the time to listen to us and to ask us questions. But please continue to give us feedback. I'm in the courthouse 3 to 4 days a week for most of the time, and I encourage you to stop by and share your ideas. Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you all for attending. I firmly believe, and I'll share this with anybody in the state and anybody in the world, that this is the greatest community anywhere, and it's because of the people. And your presence here tonight kind of demonstrates that. These are leaders. I know everybody's busy. I know you got 100 things going tonight. You could have been somewhere else, but you came here just to learn some things and maybe share some things. And I know I learned a lot. But thank you for all you do. Thank you to our business leaders, our industry leaders, our elected officials. I know it's been a challenging couple of years, and the future, though may be challenging, I think it's bright, and I think it's because of great leaders like you. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your hard work, and let's just make the future great. Thank you for being here.